So, Only Murders in the Building season 5 has just wrapped up, and I must say I was honestly not expecting to see things take a turn for the better. I was like 3, 4 episodes in, and just not really feeling this season. The season had a rocky start, and in my opinion, and it just took a very long time to build up momentum. We were, I think, 5 episodes in when it really started to feel like the show that I fell in love with. And spoilers, of course, for the end of this season. You have fair warning. But I was genuinely impressed at the way things played out, and I'm also very glad they chose not to throw like a blinder in and do like, I don't know, like a random villain at the end, a surprise villain no one knew, or make it the guy in the basement or something weird. They did not try to, subvert my expectations just because I and apparently a few other people kind of figured out who the killer was fairly early on. And honestly, th- I don't think that hurt the show at all. And I did love that finger chop in the last episode. That was good. That was very well done. And honestly, speaking as someone who's somehow managed to avoid basically any work of any piece of media containing involving Keegan Michael Key at all. I I was aware of the man's fame, nevertheless, and I thought from the start, basically, that the writers were going to do more with his character than simply have him just be around and offer some advice. And I was right. I'd kind of convinced myself later on that he's not going to be the killer. He's going to be someone else. He's going to be involved with the billionaires somehow, and he's going to point them in the right direction. But no, um, I, honestly, I think he made a good killer. I think he made a very good killer. And the it was a very good kind of crazed story that played out. With his affair with Mrs. Cachamilio boiling over into a fight where he loses his finger, and they have to kill the mobster, and Lester springs in to save the day, only to be slain anyway. It's all very kind of poetic and crazy and well done, I think. And Key made a for a good villain in that regard. I think he played the part rather well. And seeing as this is the first thing I've ever seen him in, I've managed to make it 22 years into human existence, and this is the only thing I've ever seen with him in it. Um, and I think he did a good job, is what I'm saying here. And I like that the gang, they were captured only to be saved by Charles's skills as a magician, and by Howard teaming up with some of the other people in the building to save the day as well. Right? There's almost an element of that, an element of so the dumpster diver guy who finds their phones and figures out that something's wrong. He kind of represents the poor in the building, and Howard represents the sort of middle class in the building. And then Thea, she's obviously the rich, and they all team up to save the trio and set up the fall of the mayor. And I do like that Charles got some more time to shine, because obviously I love Steve Martin, and they gave him a good arc in this season. Him, learning to grow and change as a person, and also to accept that he is a very capable, Charles, who's so chronically self so defeatist and easily thinking ill of himself. He's able to step in and get them out of a jam, to get teaming up with everyone else, and they work together and they fix it. And so that's a good thing for Charles to have. And of like the everyone teaming up at the end to bring down the the billionaires and the mayor and all. Um, of them, I will say that Thea was kind of the only character that I still wasn't sure about. Um, and I'm still not. Like, I just, I'm, the performance felt a little off to me personally, and that could just be a writing thing, or even just that, like, the character is not necessarily appealing to my sense of humor. Um, I'm more of a fan of Oliver Putnam's high pitched shrieks and his painfully specific literary cultural references. That's more my speed. Um, Nevertheless, she's fine, and I don't know if I remember. I don't remember if I spoke ill of the robot in my previous video, but I really was not expecting the like twist, the reversal of fortune, if you will, of the robot like having they were able to turn things around with the robot and make him interesting, and honestly, he like provided very useful information to solving the case. And did you know that he was voiced by Paul Rudd, because that improved my opinion of the robot dramatically. Just that piece of information, because I honestly love that he's still on the show despite having died in his first scene in the third season. Uh, he must just love working with Martin Short and Steve Martin, right? I mean that he keeps coming back in a different role each time. Um, I mean, can you blame him? Of course he loves working with them, especially if you're a comedy actor. I imagine Steve Martin and Martin Short are like the frickin' apostles. I mean, they're probably just it's probably a bit of starstruck and a bit of just Paul Rudd being a goofy guy who enjoys this kind of weird nonsense. But it's fun. I'm enjoying it. I I didn't love the entirety of this season, but I will say that I enjoyed the ending, the later half of the season. It was a good message as well, uh, of sort of looking out for your neighbors and your friends and your community, right? And I loved the whole Last Supper episode, especially with Teddy Demas back from prison. Uh, Teddy, my man, Nathan Lane, who I love, and he was very funny in this episode, especially his and in the final episode as well. His I really didn't want to disappoint the Duolingo owl was a really good line, and good stuff. And they've always been fun characters. I've always enjoyed the Demases, right? And they've got like a very great story behind them, and they remind you of the greatness of the first season as well. So that's fun. Um, and I thought for sure that Teddy was going to be the next victim of the Arconia curse, but what they came up with instead was even better. And that means we get to keep Teddy around for a while longer. So even better. The wounded crawl of the curly-haired woman to the building inch by inch was something to see, and Howard bemoaning that she didn't make it through the threshold, only to, with her last breath, reach the gate. That was incredible, and I can't imagine what they're going to come up with next. I can't. I have no idea what they have planned for the reasoning behind spoilers again. Cinda Canning's demise, but I imagine it's going to be wild and crazy, if you will. I'm honestly looking forward to it, and I'm sorry that I ever doubted the brilliance of Only Murders in the Building. I hope Steve Martin can forgive me. But until then, yeah, bye.